President Trump faces new corruption allegations as companies that he invests in and promotes land major government contracts. Trump's federal disclosure form shows that the president invested in Dell Technologies several times in recent months, including in February, when he bought between $1 and $5 million in its stock. Then, just this week, the Pentagon awarded the tech giant a more than $9 billion contract. It really does, actually, I think what it shows is two things. One, perhaps the limitations of our ethics rules, which don't cover the president at all. So in some ways, he could do whatever he wanted to do. But it also just points to how easy it can be to profit off of the presidency, potentially.
Yeah, interesting quinky-dink is not the term I would use. I would use that it's absolutely corrupt. He is the corruptor in chief. This is outrageous. No other president would ever get away with this level of conflict of interest. Now, not only Trump himself, but also his entire freaking family, his sons, his daughter's husband, his other daughter's husband. You know, they're making billions and billions of dollars. Don Jr.'s net worth went from 50 million to 300 million in 1 year. Between him and his brother, they're on the boards of 10 corporations, and all of a sudden, those corporations are getting government contracts. For Donald Trump, it's not just Dell. It's Palantir. It's Micron. It's, what's the other one? Oh, NVIDIA. Robinhood. Oh, Polymarket. Kalshi. The Trump sons have, Trump Jr. has his capital fund. Is investing in World Liberty Financial. That's right.
The latest deal involving a Trump son invested business. The reporting actually from ProPublica is that the White House intervened to help get a $620 million deal for this company tied to Don Jr. Let me just play what the reporter who'd worked on that story said about how this all went down.
Peter Navarro originally pushed this deal to the Pentagon, and the thinking within the division of the Pentagon that handles these kinds of loans was the call came from the White House, we have to get this done. And what we learned is that 3 months after Don Jr.'s firm invested in this small North Carolina startup, the Defense Department went in and gave this company a record-breaking loan. We're talking about potentially hundreds of millions of dollars if all conditions are met.
So just two quick things, and then Harrison, I'd like you to explain not just how this looks, but what it is. The president's eldest sons say that he wasn't involved. The Pentagon says that they had no role in setting the deal. And then Peter Navarro has denied this. He calls it fake news on steroids, just total BS. But even if the White House had no role in this, it's a very bad look for a company that was just invested in by the president's son to then turn around and get a massive Pentagon contract while the president is in office.
These are accounts that are handled by independent money managers.
Not this one.
I'm talking about his overall.
I'm talking about the Don Jr. thing.
I don't know enough about that.
That's not
and the
managed
timing of it.
by an independent anything. It's Don Jr.'s investment fund investing in a business, and then a few months later, that business getting a major Pentagon contract.
$620 million contract.
The contract process in Washington is a complicated one. This company probably offers a service in which no other company can, which is sometimes why people get contracts.
They've never done anything
they didn't
like
bid
this
out.
The overall claim in which you made, which the Trump family somehow is enriching themselves
Not somehow, they are.
Off of office.
They
this
are.
is a family that has almost witnessed their father get shot in the face.
Oh, that doesn't have anything to do with
that
this.
just uncovered a plot.
That doesn't have
That
doesn't have anything to do with it.
This is a family who's
well, Harrison, let me just say, you just in the earlier segment, you pretty broadly claimed that the Biden family was enriching themselves.
10% of the big guy.
This
Do you not forget that?
This is what we're talking about here. Hold on a second.
10% of the big guy
Harrison,
was found in the emails from the oversight.
Harrison, what we're talking about here is right now, the president's son investing in a company that gets a direct benefit from the United States government. What we are talking about here is the president or people on his behalf actively investing in stocks in corporations that the federal government then gives contracts And
Completely
Dell's
independent
stock.
of
Let's
his-
just
of
take
his
a look.
knowledge.
Just take a look at these charts
didn't
because
bid it out,
you don't even
Harrison.
need to know anything about stocks to see what's going on here. From January to today, Dell's stock has basically skyrocketed. And in that interim period, in that interim period, Donald Trump has on 3 separate occasions urged people to buy Dell. The Pentagon then gave Dell a contract. You see it there, that last bubble, and then the stock goes up even more. If any of this happened under Joe Biden's administration, and we're talking about a couple of $100, it would have been a scandal. We're talking here about millions
And
of
speaking
dollars.
of
I do think
How do they explain this?
So I think the Dell situation is a little bit different from Vulcan, which involves Don Jr. That's the rare earth minerals company. And even in that case, you could argue that they're trying to compete with China's dominion over rare earths, which we're very much dependent on. And
Why is Don Jr. involved? You know, because I think that even
he's
if
involved
it's,
in a lot of businesses.
yeah, but listen,
But I hear you.
why
I hear
is
you.
the
I don't like the
president's
appearance of
son
cronyism.
involved in businesses that
like-
have
yeah.
direct business with the federal government that his father runs?
I don't like the appearance of cronyism either, which is why I think they should have explained to the public why Vulcan got the bid. Now, with Dell, it's a little different, though, because Dell has had an existing relationship with the Pentagon for decades, because they are probably the best manager of government systems. That's why the Pentagon keeps hiring them repeatedly, keeps handing them contracts. I understand that the optics are not ideal for President Trump, given that he's friends with the Dells and he did help them with the Trump investment accounts.
Stock and then hopped it. That's the problem.
Hold on.
But again, the contract that they were awarded actually is projected to save the taxpayers $400 million because they are so efficient at what they
wonderful,
do.
But the
They're
president
so
of the
good
United
at
States
what
should not
they
be
do.
enriched by it. That's why he's supposed to put his things
So
in a
the
blind
argument is that the
trust.
president of the United States should not
Every
be
president
able to
before this
trade
one has put their financial interest in a blind
trust.
trust.
Which
Not
is
a trust. No, it's not.
Yes, every single one.
It's handled by his sons. Why is Donald Trump so scared of being transparent about his finances?
Transparent? We're
Because
talking
he's
about it because there's a
self-dealing
public
and he's a crook.
disclosure.
No,
Also, what about-
3,700 trades later,
what
something
about
you
this?
You can't see
You
his
can't
stock
argue
trades.
it's not transparent
Now,
and then
well,
talking
no,
about the
it's-
transparency
if
of
this
the
were
report.
Hunter Biden,
And it
you'd be
was.
going berserk
And it
right now.
was.
No,
It
literally
not
was.
to this level.
It's not. What this is a change in the incentive structure of our democracy. It used to be you had money to gain power.
Was Donald
I'm
Trump not a
done.
billionaire
You see my
beforehand?
lips moving? I'm not done.
Questionably.
Now,
I remember this guy.
Now, it's gain power to make money. So personally, Harrison, I'd be better with you just going, yeah, it kind of smells bad. I'm with you. Instead of trying to tell me that this cup isn't blue.
When
And
you
so-
actually care about members enriching themselves and utter the words Nancy Pelosi, who entered Congress in the 80s, not a millionaire, worth now $500
should go back to,
million.
like, Andrew Jackson for
Ilhan
references.
Omar, not a
Over
millionaire
30
before she
years,
entered
and her
Congress.
husband's
Now
How
money.
about
she's
Attila
about
the Hun?
$30
He was a
million
bad guy. Use
richer
him as a
today.
reference.
Okay.
And so if there's going to be a double standard here, fine.
I think
But
we apply
hold
it
on,
across the board.
hold on,
we
hold
want
on
to
a
have
second.
agreement at the
But
table.
hang on a second. If you're suggesting that we should have agreement, but you have to actually acknowledge that
The
what's going
goal
on here. Are you
here is to not
are you
even have an
acknowledging it?
appearance of
But
impropriety.
Harrison, hold
Then
on.
let's
Hang on a
let's
second,
not
Harrison.
let them trade, period.
Are you acknowledging that there's a problem? Because if there's a problem with Nancy Pelosi, there would be a problem here
Any
too.
appearance of impropriety is always going to have a problem.
So that's a no.
But if the answer is the Trump family needs to shutter all business operations and not be able to engage in any form of business, then just say that.
about no
but let's
foreign
just have an
business if
honest
their
conversation
father
of
is
what's
involved
actually
in
happening.
$1.4 billion.
These
That is
people had an
where.
empire long before
One-
they got into
Hold-
politics.
hold-
and quite
hold-
frankly,
hold on.
They probably
Hold on a second.
never got involved in
$1.4
politics.
billion. That is what the New York Times puts how much Trump has profited thus far from the presidency. There's no question. You can look at his net worth, how much it has increased dramatically.
And decreased
just
over time.
in the time that
You
he
don't
has
talk
been
about the
president.
decreases. You only talk about
it
the
has,
increases.
because it has increased.
Yes,
In the last
also
year
decreased.
alone, President Trump has made more money than he made in his entire life.
that's right.
And look, I hear a lot of people talk the way that you're talking right now in focus groups, and it honestly it brings me back to how broken our politics are, because you're navigating around very obvious things to be at the behest of a very obviously corrupt president. And I think the team basketball that we do in our politics is like very much on display here, and you're not the only one that's doing it. I'll just say that. You're doing it on national television.
Try to psychoanalyze me. Like, have analysis of your own. Let's do that.
My analysis is that we are currently in the middle of the biggest upward transition of wealth from the working class to the 1%. That the country is, hold up, one second, that we've ever seen. And those things don't happen on accident. Those things happen specifically because of what we're talking about at this table right now.